Oh, yeah. It's on time and has 2 thumbs. This guy. Give me a minute. We'll get started. Yeah. Hey, 1 second, guys. I'm just going to grab my coffee. Oh boy, does the bonding work today? Yay, we're bonding. Yay. Alrighty. We have a lot to get into, so let's do it. So first and foremost, in regards to Microsoft, the rumor about cutting CapEx, at this point, it's still a rumor. I'm actually surprised that the name is trading up on this and that there is really no comment about it whatsoever. To me, this is definitely an issue, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Hold on 1 second. Let me just do this real quick and go mute, because that's going to drive me bonkers. But really, this level of Microsoft needs to hold. If you drilled into it and just watch that level real close, you can just see these constant points of attention there. And I think that's really important. So if I had to tell you like one thing to really watch today, you really don't want to be breaking 404. Some people might even say it's a little lower. Some people might just use this bar right here from that movement of that gap, right? Okay. They might just use that day. So you might have this 406 to 404 kind of window in here. You need to hold this. And if you break this, it's going to be really bad. In my opinion, like 380, something like that. Like, I think this can get a lot worse than people think it can. That's my opinion. I usually feel that way, that things can get worse than people think they can. It doesn't mean that I'm right. You would obviously see that, you have this huge resistance point up here that you have to get through, but your real core level of where you'd want to flip before even thinking about being long is like right around there, like that 411-ish, 412 area. It's something like that. But you need to hold this, and you very well could. Now, remember, you have a lot of really good earnings that are coming out this week, like big dog earnings. So I don't know. We don't know what we're going to get. So this morning, for example, you can see even at the end of the day, like CRMs this week, I'm going to clean this off. And what we'll do is we'll drop this to a 15 real quick. And then, I'm just going to start trying to jump into these a little quicker just to get started. But you see these levels like here, like 312.40, you need to flip these. I don't know what we're doing down here, but if you break that, there's some other stuff like right here. You should be able to see that. Right around there, like 316, 317. It's like right in there as well. The low of this is going to be absolutely huge. And you can already see that was a rejection point. And I think that's pretty significant for people. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Okay. There we go. And you can see it was already a rejection point, like right in here. So back's killing me. See that right there? So I would watch these levels really closely. I do think that they could have an amazing quarter. The question is, does it even matter? So, and I'm not so sure that it does right now until we settle all this stuff. And we'll go from there. But overall, when I look at this, I really think that they could really crush, but it's tough, man. It's a pickle right now because I'm not even sure if they crush, it's going to matter. Honestly, I'm not really sure. When they want to sell, man, they find a reason to sell. I've been doing this a long time. And when they want out, man, they'll find it. They'll start saying, oh, it's the PE, it's this, it's that. It doesn't matter. They'll just find a reason. They'll just start dumping. And you want it to stay out of the way. You don't have the kind of bullets that you can hold this. You can't stop the water. So you just have to let it go, just flow over you. That's just really that simple. That was really actually pretty poetic, wasn't it? So that's where I'm at with CRM. I'm trying to figure out what else you guys are going to ask me about. You guys love PLTR. Let's talk about that. So I was short this morning. I already am out of the short. I'm going to regret it. I think this thing gets absolutely smoked today. That's my sense of this. you're just going to get absolutely unequivocally smoked in it. I'll show you where my target is, but I think you're going to gap fill. I think you're coming back down to here, and I think it's going to be fast. So I think it'll be way faster than people think it is. You're going to hope to get a bounce and then kind of go from there. The 103.70 is big. 109 would be huge. You have some minor levels in here, but this is your target. And there's nothing here, man. Like there's literally nothing there. You know, that's the thing about these breakouts that people don't really take into account. They go both ways, right? Okay. So like when you break here, like that's your value area low from earnings. And now you're through it. And it's kind of interesting because there's your value high. And that's that 109 level from earnings. And you can see how we held that. The other thing you can always do when you have these levels is you just drop a quick line on those anchor VWAPs. Sometimes they'll tie into other areas of interest. But you can see point of control was really the thing. That was really the cat's pajamas. And that right there, the kids still say that, right? And then that's right around that 100 level. So you have some really key levels here that you're just going through like tissue paper. And the other thing I can always tell you when something's going to get smoked, like smoked, there's no bounce. There's no love. So like when we bounced here, where'd we go? Oh, you got me to the top of the value area low. Oh, great. That's fantastic. And then you rejected. You'd need these wicks in here or something like that to start, you know, holding, and then you can kind of go from there. That's how I would view it. But yeah, I mean, there's just I have no love there right now for this whatsoever. I actually thought this was the one that they were going to hold because it didn't take out the lower low on Friday and the others were getting smoked. I just think that they were reloading, it looks like. And so I think you have a clear shot to this, like real clear shot straight down. And we'll go from there. Please like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to do more impromptu live too, where I just take Q&A and we just rap. The kids still say that, right? And then we'll go from there. But this is how I view things and how I see things. The other thing that's really troubling for me that I find vexing, if I could use that word, is the SMCI. And, you know, it was somebody in the community that actually brought it up. And it just made me think about it again. And I'm like, you know what? He's got a really valid point. It's like, what are they waiting for? Like, you don't have to wait to the 25th. So what are you waiting for? And I actually think it's bad that they're not coming out with it yet. This is from somebody that was like super long this thing, but I have no position right now. And I'm just going to show you these levels. But what are you waiting for? Or are you going to file another extension? And if you file another extension, then you're going to have even another issue, right? So once you see that, yeah, I mean, you have a real pickle on your hands here because they file an extension. To me, it means that NVIDIA gave them Blackwell to stuff the channel versus them being okay and their books being okay, which becomes a red flag for NVIDIA to some extent. If you want my opinion on it, it really does. Sorry, I'm like back's killing me. Don't squat at 5 o'clock in the morning. But it's just like everything gets so tight, it's crazy. But anyway, if you see how this is going, it's not going. I've seen things go well before, and they're not going well. It's kind of bothering me a little bit. It's kind of bothering me a little bit. You know, I guess it's bothering me because I kind of believe that they're getting their act together. And it's like, you know, that like that emotionally abusive relationship you just keep going back to, and you know you shouldn't, but you do anyway for obvious reasons. And like it just never works out. I don't know, man. I keep looking at this thing. I keep waiting, like, oh, they're really going to get it together. They're really going to get it together. And they never really get it together. You know, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm really interested what you guys think about this. Like, are they really going to be able to pull this off? Or did we just get flim-flammed again by the flim-flammers? Because when you listen to this conference call, and I was long into this because so many people were short, and we had a hedge underneath of it, but like I keep going over it and over again. Like this was not a great conference call. Like they sounded like they got their act together and everything's great, but why are you waiting for the 25th? And then that leads you to think about something like a NVIDIA, where when you look at like a NVIDIA, like, oh yeah, they know the earnings and we're definitely going to go back to 140 and the thing's going to go straight up. And, you know, maybe I see a lot of people talking about a muted quarter. And the good thing is if it's not a muted quarter and everybody's wrong, this thing's going to just rip its head off. But if it doesn't crush, you got a lot of problems here technically. So, you know, you look for today, let's get into today again. And I try to take a longer term outlook on some of these things right now, because I think you have to. But if you look at that 41.61 level, I mean, that's really been a pickle. It's been a great area to short it. That's the gap fill up there, obviously. And then you obviously have this level right here, which has been, you know, pretty rejected over and over and over again. Was support, test, flips, bonk, 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 bonk. Rejected end of day. So usually these, when they're rejected, kind of those end of days levels, you might want to look at them again, because sometimes it's just institutional selling end of the day. It lightens up and then you can get back up to something like 140. You know, I mean, if you had to find like minor levels, like right there's one, but you know, I think you got to be super careful here holding this in the earnings. And this is somebody that like had a huge position in it. I don't have the same position at all that I once had in it at all. And it just, that's what it boils down to. When I get an existential threat, I just get out of the way usually when the fundamentals change. And it just works for me on a longer term basis, but you got some issues now and you're going to have to address those issues. So we'll see how that plays out. What else is really of interest? I do think we should probably spend some time on the indexes before I take questions, and then I'll take some questions. We can talk about dominoes and how people aren't going there and having yum-yums. What else do we have? I think we should spend some time on the ES and go from there. So if we look at the ES, for example, you'll note a couple things. The top of the H from December is still an issue. Let's go take a look at that. And we can see that right in here. That's still an issue, right? The top of the H. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. Probably nothing, really. Like there's probably really nothing to do with that. I really feel that way. I think you have to just kind of like get above it and stay above it. Like this itchy level is huge. You just cannot clear it. Like whenever you get to itchy's level, like that's it. It just, that December 18th day just smokes us. So I think you have to keep that into account. Like down here, I still leave these levels up because they're important to me. But when you really get into it and you start looking at like, oh, Friday we fell apart, and people are saying, oh, we fell apart on Friday because of PMI and Michigan Consumer Sentiment. Man, we were down the first hour, 9 to 10 we were down. It had nothing to do with it. You can blame it on that, but that's not really it. It was a culmination of things. Now you're riding this kind of lane in here where, you know, the hundreds here, the 55 and the 20, and you're not really doing anything. So what tends to happen in these kinds of areas, if we close this off for a minute, just go there and look at them. See how the lines are flatlining? You really don't want that. Like you don't want them flatlining at all. And they're starting to flatline. And what that means is that you just kind of maybe go sideways and, you know, you might rotate through the groups, but really, where have we gone since you come back to like November and you're still in this kind of November hiatus, or, you know, kind of like fervor from him and like the election and yay, everything, hope and change, all that stuff, right? Here we go again. You know, I just don't know. I don't know that you really have to think about like this is going to go anywhere. If anything, when you look at it from this perspective, it's actually getting worse. Right. And the RSI is actually rolling over. If you don't, you know, you don't have to use RSI. You don't have to believe in gravity either. But when you see it, you kind of have to pay attention to it. Like it's at least have to say it's going to tell you that you're slowing down because it charts magnitude of a move. So I don't know, man. I don't know where that leadership's going to come from right now. I guess that's really kind of my point to it. Like, I just don't know it. I don't want to get into too much of like the week ahead stuff, or I'm sorry, like the Saturday video stuff. But when you see stuff like this, where, you know, the McClellan summation can't get over 0 and you're starting to roll, you probably don't want to be going goofy into it. You probably want to realize that you're dealing with something maybe like this and you're coming down, or this and you're coming down. It doesn't mean that you're going to fall apart, but you want to pay attention to it when it rolls again and you're under the 0, because you can just start doing something like this for a little bit. It is a possibility. It is. So just keep that in mind. Let's get to the NQ. I don't want to spend too much time on that for obvious reasons. But again, here you are. Use a 22 of 55. That's a 200. But you're wedged and you hit it and you stopped. So you have that going for you. But, you know, to me, it's like, what's the catalyst that's going to get everybody really giddy here and get them moving? And I don't know what that is. I'm not really sure what that is. And so to me, I think it makes a lot of sense to just let this sort itself out. You start looking at it from this perspective, and you can just see it riding the 22 over and over again. Bonk, right? Here's the 55 riding it, hits the 55, hits the 22. You know, you're just playing badminton with it. And you've been there since what? Since like Sunday, the 23rd. Okay, so it's not been that long. People will say, well, you still got to get out of it, right? You broke it and you can't get back above it. And I think that's the part you should really take from it. Like, people are like, oh, well, we just got there. True, but you're still in it. Like, you still can't get under the 55 and you still can't get over the 22. So whatever happens there, that's really going to be very determinant on which way we're going here. I'm not sure you're going to get that much of an answer before you see something else like a, you know, NVIDIA's earnings, CRM's earnings, which are both the same night. I'm just not sure you're going to get it, man. I'm just not. And there's some other things out there that are worth talking about. We'll go through them, like, and then I'll take questions. But like Hood, for example, if we take a look at Hood here, everyone's excited because they got SEC's not going to investigate them. They ended their claims, Robinhood's claims, which means they're going to probably do the same thing with Coin, right? Which is why everyone's getting excited. And then you look at Coin here and you're like, okay, well, there's the 200-day moving average. Are we going to hold that? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of, you know, hope and prayers right there that you're just going to hold that. When you reverse like this on good news, you had really good news, and then you just sell straight down. Yeah, you might get that bounce before you get that roll back over. You very well could. But you got to be really, really careful. I mean, usually like these 20-day lows, when you see them, like this kind of stuff, yeah, they tend to hold for a little bit. But what you want to do is, like, you always want to find like the 20-day lows that didn't have another low. So in other words, like you see here, and like there's a 20-day low, and then you get like some kind of bounce. So when you start having these 20-day lows, but each one's another 20-day low, it doesn't usually hold that well. And also, whenever you have like a reversal like this, where you flip a level and then you come straight down, yeah, you don't want to be there for those. You really don't. I can't stress that enough. It's troubling. What else do I think is in it? You know, well, I guess it's troubling if you're short or long, whatever. The MSTR close, I'm short MSTR. I don't mind saying it, but, you know, to me, you broke here. Now, how we open, and do they run it up again to squeeze the shorts? Maybe, you know, maybe they do. But, you know, where are you going to go? I don't see you getting above 330. I don't know what the news is going to be that's going to get you there. To me, it really feels like they're bidding us up to convince people that they better get in. And it's retail they're trying to convince early in the morning. That's kind of how I feel that this market's setting up. But, you know, we'll see. I don't know that anything really got resolved over the weekend on any of the issues that we're having. So you are seeing some bidding up, but yeah, I'm just not buying it. Usually we're rallying up in the morning for the first half hour, and then we're just dropping straight down. We do have some earnings we could go over. You guys might ask me about, like Domino's same store sales were off. in the US, and a lot of people are just not eating like that anymore. They're just not eating all the carbs. They're getting away from it. So I don't know what they're going to do there, come up with something different, some different, things on the menu. Who knows? I don't know. But, they're going to get smoked this morning. How long does that last? If you go back and take a look at it, sometimes it's really, really nasty for like a day or two with this name. And then other times it just like rebounds like almost immediately like this. Like a week later, you're back up and everyone loves it, right? So, and the breakouts usually don't last. But it just keeps grinding and grinding and grinding. But here you just have to watch. Tonight's earnings are kind of interesting. HIMS, people think that HIMS dropped because of earnings. No, it dropped for other reasons. I was short this. I actually closed the darn thing. Closed it this day. I thought I was smart. I was not. But who knew? Who knew they were going to have a supply issue with their main drug or one of their main drugs? So you have something like this tonight. You're going to have all the hoople heads in TEM, and they're going to love TEM because Nancy's in TEM, and for some reason, they love playing it. But from here to here, you're up 100%. And you're up 100% from last earnings. So that better be, or it was, now you're up like 50. So that better be one heck of a quarter. I'm not really sure what they're going to say or what they're going to do. I don't have a clue. I truly don't. So, but you're going to be all over the place tonight, man. And you're a big, big trader. ZM, Zoom Communications, again, this crushed last time and you're nowhere near that. Does this get busier again? Do we see volume in this? Maybe, but there's going to be some fun ones tonight. And then of course you have tomorrow morning with Home Depot. That's always a good one to watch and see what's going on in the world and kind of go from there. But HIMS will be on everyone's radar tonight. You had a huge run up and then you have this gap down. So now you have longs kind of trapped, if they stayed in it. And you have a shooting star on the way down. So, probably, 45, 46, 43 before earnings. And earnings they better knock the cover off the ball because last earnings you were here and you were at 20. So you're still up over 100% from last earnings. Usually these names come in if they're like that, unless they crush. And I don't know, maybe they will. Maybe they will crush. They crushed last time, but we'll see. And you hardly moved last time in comparison to where you were. So I don't know. We'll go from there. But I think there's a lot to it. And we'll go from there. What else do we have? Yeah, guys, Tesla's going to be like all over the place. I mean, there's not really much for me to say. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. You're just going to have to trade it. Like, he probably came out with a new robot, right? This one's going to be a blender and a Vegematic. Like, I don't know what to tell you. People are just trading it to trade it, and it's not going to change. I can go read the news if you want, but like, I'm sure that 1,000 people already saw the news, whatever it is. He's going to Mars with Tesla and we're all going to have cars on Mars. Okay. Like at some point, it just becomes words. And I don't know why. I mean, it's just crazy to me. People still get it. Like, believe it. I'm not saying the guy's not sickly brilliant, but my God, like every time he says something or something happens, like they go crazy. And, to me, yeah, get to 350 and I'll short the heck out of you again. I mean, that's really where my head is, like just literally it's like watching lambs to a slaughter. I mean, I hate to be that facetious with it, but that's the name you want to buy? Like, okay, go for it. Like, seriously, it's absolutely crazy to me when I look at stuff like this. Like, why would for what reason? Oh no, they're going to do what? What are they going to do? Not get crushed at the auctions? I mean, you buy one of their cars that are high end and you go and sell it at an auction, or you try to get out of it and you're getting it for 70, what are they getting plaids for now? 50 grand at the auction? Like, what's the point? Why would you even buy a new one? It doesn't really make any sense to me. And I know I'm going to get like tons of and I love the guy. I love what he's doing, but it just doesn't make any sense from a valuation standpoint, like to me at all. Here's where he came out and said, like, oh, we're not really a car company anymore, and everyone's going to have a humanoid robot. And they're going to turn into cars, and they're going to be driving all around Austin. Okay. How'd that go? So it is what it is, man. And I know tech guys love it. And they're like, whenever I say it, they're like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, no, you don't understand. He has a business that loses money, and he's losing market share. and people don't want his cars, and he's alienating like half the world with what he's doing. So, it is what it is. They're the facts. I just want it to rally. If it rallies up to 350, I'll be foaming at the mouth to short it. That's kind of where my head is this morning. Whenever I see like, oh, bidding up, you guys missed the buy on, like you guys really missed the buy on Friday. You really should get in now. It's like, they're putting a hook in front of you and hoping that you bite the bait. Like that's really all they're doing right now. And if you think about it that way, like who's the fish? If you don't know who it is, it's you. I don't know. Yeah, you got to watch T-bill auctions today, John, for sure. I actually think the Hershey's makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I think they're going to get a lot of tax breaks too. I also think that them coming out and dealing specifically with like sugar, getting away from high fructose corn syrup, things like that. Like RFK is not going after guys like this. He's not. He's not going to go after the guy that's making a candy bar and says it's a candy bar. He's going after the companies that are like, oh, look, this is a health drink. And then you find out it's got more sugar than a donut, right? Like that's the stuff he's going to go after. This kind of name in this environment to me makes a lot of sense. I'm looking for some kind of pullback or to get through this level right here. And you can see that how you have been fighting that for years in here and rejected, flipped, rejected, right? And then if we just do the simplest of things and look at that level right here, yeah, you're above the 55, but I did it before and it's still declining. I'd like to see some kind of test back and then go from there. And see how that goes. That's really where my head is with it. So we'll have to see how that plays out. We'll have to go from there. But I don't see the, I just don't see the appeal of the, of getting in this until I'm over that area. That's how I see it, John. What else you got for us? CE. Yeah, I thought this was fairly decent, and I don't think people understood the whole gross margin story. I thought you had a shot at like 37, 38-ish to get to the peak VWAP. I'll clean all this off. You're above your level. This is really tough because if I go here and look at a bear chart, the very first thing that you should think of is I don't even want to touch this until I get above this level. Like it's really that simple. If you get above this level, right? Okay. If you get above that level and you were then saying, all right, I'm going to use the low of that bar as my stop. Cool. Right. I mean, that's it. That's the entire trade right there. The problem with this is you didn't hold the open. I actually bought this on Friday and made like $1 and then just blew it out when it started to fade. For me, when I see this kind of thing, I think you really have to pay attention to it and say, okay, what is this telling me? It's telling me that there's definitely an interest in buying it, right? I like to see stuff get above like these peaks. And I got right to that. And that's probably not even the right peak, candidly. It's probably that one from back here. And obviously you can use that one as well. I mean, that's a perfect double horns, isn't it? And then you just see the break and like, that's it, man. Those patterns, those double horn patterns are so vicious. You see them everywhere. Once you see them, man, you can't like unsee them. Like watch the Roku one. It's just like, I mean, totally called the top. See it right there. Like you can't like unsee them. Like that's it. People are like, oh, I'm not selling. It's 270. It's like, whatever, boomer. So once you start like pattern recognition's everything. It's just human behavior. That's all it is. But if you look for this, like up here, can you get through it? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I thought it was really good that they bought the other beverage company and that the other beverage company has better gross margins. I think from a fundamental standpoint, that made a lot of sense, man. The new virus thing to me is like the wild card, and everyone's out here going, "Oh no, it's fine. Just go out there and just start buying these names." Like you don't know what's going to happen overnight. You have no idea. Like and people are like, "Well, you never know what's going to happen." Yeah, but now they're coming out like the idea that China is telling us about a new bat virus because they're like, "Oh, hey, the world has a right to know." Like how delusional are you? Do you know what I mean? Like there's a reason they're telling us. We just don't know what it is yet. We'll find out in like a week. But names like Airbnb, Expedia, Bookings, man, they couldn't sell fast enough. Look at Jets. So like they could not get out of this stuff fast enough. So I don't know. I'm not saying that like you have to go out there, and I don't even think that names like mRNA or BNTX, like I don't think you have to worry about the vaccines going higher. What I would say, because I don't think they do want it, but what I think about it when I really is like, if there's a case like this again, it's just God forbid, he's going to shut everything down so fast, like everything. And he's going to promote everything domestic again. It's just the way it's going to go. So travel is going to get crushed. And this is the problem with what you're dealing with in a new administration. Like, I don't know if you guys saw what Lutnick said about cruise ships. Like, that's why cruise ships are getting smoked. It's not COVID. So, there's a lot of stuff like this, a lot of sacred cows like KKR. Like, they're going after a lot of these like big corporate, tax breaks, but it is what it is. Happy Monday. Sony PM. Yep. So Sony, you can play it. I to me, this stuff's just breaking out too much. Like, it's just not for me when I'm that like this. I'm more interested in like here. Up here, I have to realize that this probably fails and then gives me an opportunity again. I get it. I mean, I see it. I can see why you'd be looking at it here. It's one enormous multi-decade cup and handle from here to here to here. You can try it. Triple tops are really not a thing. It probably does go. I don't know. It's not something I want to own right now. Leave it at that. Although it's probably pretty cheap relative to a lot of the names that are in the US. This is, to me, is like a no-brainer, really. I just need some kind of pullback. I don't know if I'm going to get it. The earnings were fantastic. It's just a question of when do we have the new problem with Zyn, like we had the problem with vaping. That's really what you're waiting for. And are we going to have that problem or are we not? And then we have to kind of go from there. The other thing that I think about too is, all right, well, where are we with, some of this other stuff? So, and I'll give you an example what I mean by that. So if I look at like MO, right, same thing, like you're saying that already, right? Or if I look at something like anything defensive, you look at XLP, like they're breaking out. Like XLPs are breaking out. Like this is where it's going. So I do think there's stuff like this that when you look at it and go, oh, okay, well, that looks pretty good. Or, there's the higher high over the 55 over that break. Yep, here we are again over, or here we are again over. And you're just grinding higher. Like there's not really much to do or to say there. Like you're just moving higher. So, yeah, I think it's a lot easier to look at stuff this way, or XLK. Like, well, I'd be real careful, man, like really careful until this stuff settles down. I guess that's the best way that I see it. So that's where I go with like PM. PM makes so much sense. It has nothing to do with anything, and they make a ton of money. Barclays, these kinds of banks, I don't know. I don't know why UK's on fire. I mean, you see it with like UBS tried, Deutsche Bank tried, and then they smacked these down. Now they're trying again. You can try Barclays. I mean, it could work. I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling the banks right now because I don't know what his next thing is. Like, you got to figure there's 90 days out and getting these themes set up, right? So like for me, I was really into all the mergers and acquisition names. Like I couldn't buy these fast enough. Not this, but like all the mergers and acquisition names like APO, KKR. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are going to kill it. They're going to make so much money. And, then Trump's like, yeah, we're going to change their entire capital structure. Oh, okay. Well, no one had that on their bingo card. And then you can see where they all got smoked. Like they all got crushed on it. It's interesting, but that was like enough. And that like it changed the whole thesis on why you would buy these names. So yeah, it affects the Goldmans of the world and those names. And it's funny, when I was selling these things, people didn't get it, but they got it now. I don't know, man. Like, I think you have to be super careful. Like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do to European and UK banks? Are they going to change? Are their structures going to have to change? Are they going to have to pay some kind of taxed to be in this country to operate as a bank, so he can make the U.S. bank stronger. Like, what's next? And you don't want to say, well, nothing, because that's a bunch of crap. Something's next. We just don't know what it is. I don't know. That scares me with the banks, because I think something's coming and I don't know what it is. I think they benefit from the cuts. What I think the real problem is that we don't know where all these cuts are going to lead to. Obviously, if you cut all these jobs out of the government, and the government was the biggest provider of jobs over the past 4 years, because that's how they drove job numbers up. They just kept hiring people in the government to drive up job numbers. Say, oh, jobs are fine. That's how they drove job numbers up, right? It was very obvious. We saw it with non-farm payrolls all the time. They would just come out and say, oh, here's 80,000 people. That's what they did with it. And they would just put them on the books because, oh, look at all the jobs we're creating. That's why whenever you look at non-farm payrolls, people switched and started looking at the household survey data, because they're like, well, you're just padding the numbers. And the important thing about that is, like, where does that lead? Does that affect the financials? I don't know how it doesn't affect everything. I truly, it's 8:55. I truly don't know how it does not affect everything. I really don't. I don't know how it's not going to. So it's definitely an issue, and it's certainly something that I think it can affect everything. We don't have a leading sector right now. Like, there just isn't one. So to convince ourselves that we do have one, like, we just don't. There's just no leading sector. Like, everything's coming in, and everything came in pretty hard. So, you can try and play this stuff, but I would be, I'd be super, super careful on buying anything that's like bidding up this morning. Like, oh, everything's great. So I'd be, that's just kind of where my head is. Yeah. I think that, like, I think names like Melly and this stuff look great, but what are they doing when they're popping on earnings? Like, what are they doing with these names? Are they stepping in and buying, or are they taking advantage to reduce their exposure? This is what scares me about, like, CRM and these kinds of names going into earnings. Like, I think they could be great, but it really scares me because I don't know, like, until you get through NVIDIA and some of this other stuff, I think you have issues. This thing's on fire. These kinds of names, like something like this, I'd want to know why it's doing what it's doing. Is it just earnings? Is a drug selling better? Like, this kind of stuff, I would pay attention to, because has nothing to do with tariffs. It's got nothing to do globally. Do they have something? Are they selling more of it? Do they have something? Did it get approved? It's so binary. Yes, no, yes. Cool. I want to own it. It's got nothing to do with tariffs. It's got nothing to do with AI, right? That's really where, like, my head goes with it. Like, I don't want to own everything AI right now. I don't want to own everything that's got some kind of tariff or can be taxed. Like, US biotech, you either have a good drug or you don't. There's a binary event to that, and there's a cleanness to that is pretty good right now, man. I'm not going to be able to get through all those. I'm going to have to keep going. But those kinds of names like this make a lot of sense, because really what you're buying, like this kind of name, it makes so much sense, right? You just have to, like, for me, when I see this kind of stuff, I'll show you. What I like to see is, see how you're above the 200 week. This is on my list of names to look at. But what I need it to do is I need the higher high. I need like a higher high close before I get involved. Whenever you break something like this, for me, I got to just get out of the way. But when you start clearing it again and you start closing over it, like, you can see it on the 200 week, watch. But wait, there's more. Like, if I took all this off, right? And these are like super long-term trades, by the way. But you see how that is? Like, oh, I flipped the 200. Okay. And then people say, well, when do you sell it? Like, well, why do you have to sell it? If you time it right, like, you don't ever have to really do much with it. You can, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Like buying here and saying, oh, when it gets back to this triple top, I'll get out of the way. But when you look at something like this, it's such a no-brainer. It really is. You just have a level right here you have to watch. But this is definitely on my list of names. I think it should be in red. It's not. I like these kinds of names when they flip like that. And you're starting to see the volume come in, because people are like, and here, like, here's the other thing. They have like this kitchen sink quarter. It opens down. Everybody buys it that day. You've done nothing but rip since then. Like these are the kinds of names you want to start looking at 100%. I agree. I flipped through this stuff. What's up, Kev? What's up, Jason? EL. Let's just do APLD. We just did EL, I think. Anything like this that does that and then reverses, I would stay out of the way. What's up, Julian? Sounds done. I mean, you know, the reason it was up was because NVIDIA was going to do something with them, right? I mean, you better hold here or you're toast. Hi, Elizabeth. We went through a lot of those. Let's see there. The carry trade's still an interest. People aren't even talking about it. The Apple news, you know, this is the problem with Apple, in my opinion. And this is where I think like their demise is going to come. But they have this huge system where we're all locked in and we're all using it for now until we're not. But the problem for Apple is going to be all they're trying to do is cut costs. That's all they're constantly trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's no innovation there whatsoever. Like now we're going to make our own Wi-Fi chips to cut costs and cut out Qualcomm. At some point, or cut out Broadcom, right? At some point, it's like, are you going to make something new? Or are you just going to keep changing adapters? So we all have to spend $30. Like people just get pissed after a while. I mean, I know I do. I've got like all these stupid adapters now. You know, it gets annoying. From a technical standpoint, you completely rejected the earnings move. So it tells you that they're still selling there. The BABA, to me, I get why people are getting excited about it, but you're pretty much done, I think. I don't know. I'm probably early there. Let's go look at what's the mark saying there. What do they got? Yeah, you're pretty much getting there. So we'll see how it goes. Go from there. I just think you need to be super careful off the open and not believe anything. T-Duck I kind of like here. Names like Barrick Gold, all that kind of stuff. To me, if I'm playing this stuff, just like I just do this. It's just so much easier. It's just such a simple trade. Everyone's concerned about all the uncertainty in the world. They're buying. They're just literally just buying gold. That's all they're doing. Like they're just buying it and leaving it on. It's a super simple trade. Too much uncertainty. I'm buying gold. Yeah, I mean, you got to build and you got earnings coming up. I don't know if today's the day to do that. I don't know if today's the day to buy crowd. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I definitely think that. Greetings from Ireland. Greetings from Miami. Oh, that's 100% what they did, dude. It's like everybody knows that. I have no idea who Dana is, but hi. It doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't matter. Like they're just good, solid companies that make, you know, that have earnings. So like that's where this is all going, I think. I actually wonder about that even with like IWM. Like people are like, oh, rotating to IWM. I'm like, no. Like look at that. It's disgusting. It's gross to even look at. I gotta jump. I gotta hop in the room. Trade to win today.